everyone. So this is kind of odd. I have been pretty adamant that Bungie almost has to bring back SIVA at some point. It is a literal gold mine. If they release a SIVA season, they would make not a lot of money, but all of the money. And so I've been very adamant for a long time that SIVA is probably going to be a big part of something going forward. But this is very interesting. So PCGamer.com, this article is written by Phil Savage, and he interviewed a Bungie dev, or a couple, but the one that is talking here is Nico Stevens. And let's just read this. So hopefully you can read it. Sorry for all the stupid advertisements. We always talk about every related story thread whenever we bring something up. So whenever the Warmind comes up, whether it's back in Season of the Worthy or now, SIVA has been a part of that conversation narratively. We talk about it, we kick it around, but ultimately I think SIVA is a story that was told in Rise of Iron and was finalized in Rise of Iron. While narratively, it's possible to upend those stories and bring them back, I think seasonally, one thing that we have to do is make sure that we are focused on the story the season is telling, and that we aren't indulging ourselves on pieces that don't necessarily push the story forward. I think SIVA, while it's cool, would be looking backwards, and we are trying to build up Neomuna and Lightfall and make sure that story had room to breathe, has room to flourish before players set foot onto that new destination. So it's a consideration. It's something that's always in the back of our minds. We definitely have people in the studio who want to do things with older elements of Destiny, and wherever we find opportunity to bring them that makes sense, we do our best to make sure it happens. So I think really the main thing here is, I think SIVA is a story that was told in the Rise of Iron and it was finalized in Rise of Iron. So maybe SIVA comes back at some point. But if Bungie doesn't think there's a lot of story to tell with SIVA, why would they spend all of the resources to do things like make SIVA splicers or, do any of that sort of stuff? A lot of the work that would be required to really do a SIVA story justice, right? And so I think where this comes into is Wrath of the Machine. Every year we bring in a Destiny 1 raid back. Next year, it's probably either Wrath of the Machine or Crota's End, or maybe they'll redo an old Destiny 2 raid, but it's probably one of those two. And if they're not going to put SIVA in the story, why would they spend time making SIVA assets for the raid is the big question, right? And so I don't know. I think, once again, it would be foolish, in my opinion, at least from my perspective, from a business standpoint, to never leverage the huge nostalgic hit that Wrath of the Machine has, and more specifically, that SIVA has. Like I said, they would make an insane amount of money. But I did want to float an idea. Let me know what you think about this. What if they did a Wrath of the Machine, but instead of SIVA, they changed the name a little bit, Wrath of the Scorn, and they make a Scorn version of Wrath of the Machine. Very similar mechanics. You just change all the SIVA balls to like blue pussy egregore balls. There were a ton of exploding shanks in the first two encounters. You just switch those to Screebs. Axis, instead of being a robot spider, is a giant abomination on top of a Screeb. That sort of thing. I think they could do it. I'm not saying I want them to do that. I would definitely prefer Wrath of the Machine, but I would be very interested in seeing them take this kind of very vibrant raid and making it like almost like a Dead Spacey raid, like super dark and horror-y. I think they could probably do it fairly well, and it would be kind of interesting to see like Bungie do like a remake of sorts, right? Or like almost like a cover of their own, instead of music, their own raid. I think that could be really interesting. But I would definitely prefer SIVA. But let me know, is that something you'd be interested in seeing? Do you think this is a misdirect? Do you think we will get a SIVA season or expansion at some point, maybe in Saga 2? Let me know all your thoughts down below, and yeah, see you guys later.